Christian, thanks for coming on firstly, mate.
Thank you very much.
To set the scene for everyone listening, we're here in High Wycombe, your hometown. You're back for a bit of a leisure trip. You're seeing some family, catching up with mates, but potentially could be a bit of business thrown in there as well. So how's your time been back home, and could it be the start of you being back in England for a bit longer?
To be honest, who knows? That's what I say. But, there's always a bit of time for business, especially with, my little bit of background about me with my dad. He's a financial advisor by his initial job was as a financial advisor. So he's always instilled a lot of business practices in us from very young. And so I've always kind of, throughout my career, always looked at, ways which I can get into business and stuff like that. And so, with the stage I'm in my career now, business is definitely, one of the main things, especially I have a lot of free time now. But, being back in England, it's really great to be here. Just the last 3 years since I left for the NFL, I've only been able to come back 2 or 3 times, and obviously mainly because of the pandemic. So, it's always great to be home, seeing friends and family. But as usual, I get too bogged down with trying to see everyone, and I end up burning out. So just trying to relax a little bit, man.
And obviously you've been teasing fans a little bit on Twitter. You've been retweeting some articles, a few even suggesting that you might be returning to rugby. Is that something that's genuinely on the cards? You obviously have recently left the NFL and the Bills. Could a return to rugby be on the cards for Christian Wade?
I think honestly, yeah, there is a big possibility that would be, around the corner. When I left for the NFL, a lot of people would think I was disgruntled with rugby and whatever, but I wasn't disgruntled with rugby. I'm just somebody who, works hard, always wants to raise the bar. And, I was looking for a new challenge. Really being in rugby, I felt like it was this glass ceiling effect where I'd been at the top. I did, England Sevens, England men's team, the British and Irish Lions. And so I had been at the top, but then there was never that, if you earn a place in the England team, we're going to work with you now to, see how far you can go in that. And so I just, was at the club doing stuff, breaking records, scoring tries every year, being top try scorer or runner up. And it was just like, well, what else is there for me to do? So I was looking for a new challenge. And, that's kind of where the whole NFL story was birthed.
And have you been having offers? I'm sure there's people interested in you in both rugby and American football, perhaps across the globe. Yeah. Have you been getting offers? Yeah,
there's been a couple of offers, and it's more about interest, because obviously I haven't played for 3 years. People know what I can do. There's probably a bit of speculation about, whether I can still do those things, which, I was in the NFL. I was scoring touchdowns in there whenever I got the opportunity. So I don't think there is much speculation really. But there has been some offers that have come through, interest, and I'm really just intrigued to see, what value teams think I can bring to them now. Because like I said, getting to the point where I was just like, well, there's nothing left for me to kind of prove or do in the sport. Coming back now, I'm obviously going to have a different mindset of how I view it. And it's really, I need to have something that's kind of going to pull me in, or, something that's different to what I had before. Otherwise, in my eyes, it's going to look like or feel like I'm going backwards,
Is there anywhere in particular that interests you? I know you've been throwing out a few feelers on Twitter, retweeting a few articles.
What feelers did I put out though?
I saw eyes emoji with a little article to Major League Rugby in America.
Yeah. I mean, I'm based in America now. I'm married. I ain't even got my ring on, bro. Sorry, babe. When I'm working out, I don't want the titanium to get scratched. But I live in America now. I'm married. She's born and bred in Queens, New York. And so, the MLR is definitely an attraction for me. I'll be able to stay stateside. They've got an established league now with some great players. Although they might have been players who are legends of the game rather than like current superstars, it's still a very big sport in America that's growing rapidly, because obviously all the other ones are already established. So, there is a big attraction there as well. But ultimately, you know, the Premiership is still doing its thing, although there seems to be a bit of a dip. I don't think there's the same buzz around it as there used to be. But then obviously you've got the Japanese league, which is like probably the most profitable right now. A lot of players are, you know, settling over there. And then you've got Super 15. So, and even France, there's France as well, which, you know, dare I say there's a bit of interest over there as well. But we'll just have to wait and see, man.
Well, I think all of those leagues offer something slightly different. And obviously you can offer something new as well, coming from America and playing in a different sport. So it's really exciting to see what you can bring back to the sport of rugby, I suppose. When do you think you'll have made your decision by?
Well, this is it. If we go by everybody's seasons, the Premiership is obviously coming to an end soon. So they'll be looking for players. The MLR is coming to an end as well, but then they only play for 5 to 6 months, so their season doesn't start till January, February. So if we was to put those into the equation, obviously France is the same as the Premiership, and then the Japanese league I think is similar to the MLR. So yeah, I guess we got like 6 months or so, unless somebody from the Premiership, you know, can, you know, sees me being an integral part and bringing something of value to them, then there could be an opportunity there. But yeah, I guess, you know, other than that, we'll probably be looking at next year.
And we're sure there's not some other sport that's going to come out of left field. You're not currently training for the Major League Baseball or something right now. It's not.
There is another sport. I mean, I would always love to play in the NBA, but I don't think I'm tall enough. I mean, yeah.
Well, actually, talking about other sports, it wasn't actually rugby that was your first love. I know that you were big into your football early days, also music as well, something that you're interested in. If we could delve into those early days, how was it then that you actually became a rugby player? What was it that brought you to the sport?
So, like you said, I was a young kid growing up in High Wycombe. You know, we had youth clubs. Going back to the basketball, like, that was my first love. Like, I seen Space Jam, and I think it was Space Jam or maybe before that, but I've always loved basketball. I used to tell everybody, I'm gonna get a scholarship and then I'm gonna go to the NBA. Obviously, as I got older, I realized, getting a scholarship is very hard, and then getting to the NBA is even harder. So, you know, that kind of went out the window early doors, but didn't stop me from loving basketball. But I was doing taekwondo, football is obviously every young English kid's kind of dream. And, you know, American football wasn't even in the equation because that's too far left for us. But it wasn't until I went to the Royal Grammar School in High Wycombe where I had a choice. I actually got into John Hampden first, and because I got 120 on my 11 plus. They still do 11 plus now.
It's been a while for us. I'm
not
too sure, to be honest.
But I got 120, but then I appealed to go to RGS because, you know, my mum was like, if you can go to this school, because at the time she was actually working there in the catering department for the boarding section. So eventually we appealed, I got into the school, but then when I got there, I was just like, well, where's the football? Like, where's the football team? And it was like, there's no football team, we play rugby. I was like, rugby? Like, what, you mean diving around in the mud, getting all dirty and, you know, grabbing guys and stuff? I was like, I don't want to do that. But, you know, the competitive side of me came out when we had, they used to call it games. So we'd be out on the field and we're doing loads of races and I was just killing everybody, like killing them. So then the coaches were like, yo, we got to get this kid in the rugby team. And I was just like, I don't play rugby. He was just like, yeah, just try it. So I tried it, and these times it's August, September, just before the school year starts. And I was like, it's quite cool. Like, catch the ball, run around everybody and score, and I'm the man. And I was like, yeah, this is fun. So then I eventually made the A team. Didn't know what I was doing, but I was just running, scoring tries. Got to the colder months, and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. They had me, I think I put a picture up the other day of me, like, on the wing.
I think I saw
like,
that, yeah.
Mad cold, like, everybody's running. I'm just like, nah. But yeah, that's really how I got into it, man. Just stumbled upon it. And then just every year I was playing. You know, we'd end up doing 7s. We used to do 10s tournaments up in Bradford. And then my younger cousin, actually, Stephen Edwards, he's a Wickham boy as well. He had joined Marlow Club, and he used to kill it. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing. And I was like, yo, Steve, you got to show me some stuff. So he started working with me, coaching me up and stuff. And then it was probably around year 9 or year 10 when I started to take it a lot more serious, because I realized that, you know, I'm still playing football. These times I'm still playing football on a Sunday league football, and I'm playing rugby games on a Saturday for the school. Just kind of seeing which one's going to take off, because I still had the dream of, you know, Premiership football. And rugby, I was just doing it because it's a school thing and trying to be the man at school. But then when I realised you could play for England under 16s, and I saw one of my friends, Jack Wallace. You remember Jack Wallace?
Yeah.
Rugby legend. He was playing for the 16s a year young, and I was just like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to do that, like playing for England is sick. So that's when I started, you know, working with my cousin. We started working together and just working on my left-hand passing, you know, my tackling, all that stuff. And the year after, I made the team as well. And then that's kind of where the real passion for rugby started to really, you know, begin inside me, and, you know, just kept working my way up from there, man. Yeah. Bit of a long story, I know, but
it's good to delve in. It's good to delve into the backstory.
Yeah. So often, like, how you grow up has an impact on, like, the player you become, obviously. Yeah. And I know we've spoken about how you haven't done many podcasts, but I've seen that I've seen you say that you just sort of fell in love with entertaining rather than the sport itself. And rugby for you was probably that. It was probably like an avenue for you to entertain and to show your creativity, I guess. Yeah,
for sure, man. Like I said, you know, it was involved in all sport. You know, I was doing music as well, so I'm a drummer, just like my younger brother. You know, we grew up in the church, so music was always a part of the family. My dad's a guitarist, my mum would sing. Even my uncle played the bass and the guitar as well. So, you know, I always, like you said, wanted to be involved with, like, entertaining or, you know, using my talents to make people feel good type of thing. So, you know, I was doing everything until I had to, you know, as you get older, you have to whittle it down. And, you know, I was still doing music, but then it was football and rugby. Then it became rugby because of the England stuff. And then slowly it was like, I think I stopped playing football under 15s, and it was just all rugby at that point, and then a bit of music. And so, I really do love, like, entertaining, but I think it kind of went from, like, the entertainment side to, you know, really understanding, in order for me to entertain, I need to be the best at what I do. And I've just had my, you know, a chip on my shoulder ever since, you know, just really delving into training, understanding all the small intricate stuff. So I could talk about training all day, man. Like, my trainers who I work with closely have helped develop my body, help with, you know, any injuries. I've had some bad injuries over the years, but you would never know because of the way I'm still able to bounce back and play. But that's all to do with, you know, how serious I take my training. And I think that's one thing that, because I'm so laid back and relaxed, as you can see, people can't see that I would be that type of person, but I really am, like, deep into that training stuff, bro.
Do you think that's your biggest asset then, your ability to really push yourself to the limit and train really hard and work on yourself?
I think so, but it's really about, like, training smarter rather than harder and really understanding the details behind it, because unfortunately there's a lot of trainers out there who have learned, like, what they've learned, and then they've never tried to add on top of that. And I've been blessed and privileged to kind of come across a group of guys who have the same mindset I do. So they're always trying to build on their training and stuff and just go deeper and deeper. And so we were able to grow together in that respect. And, you know, it's definitely made me a better athlete. You know, I used to have so many hamstring problems, haven't pulled my hamstring since 2013. There's just levels to the type of stuff that I do now. And it's not no weird spiritual stuff, you know, some people think it's just...
If that's what you're into, we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's real trick. I mean, it's not... Spiritual stuff's not weird, but, you know, it's like... it's science. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like real, like just getting into science and understanding how the body is made and like really how we're supposed to, you know, train ourselves the right way to get, you know, the best out of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a little chat before about a tweet you'd put out today, and obviously now we're talking about Academy Rugby. Could you just tell us a little bit about that tweet? I can't remember it word for word, but it definitely had some interesting bits to it.
Yeah. So I said, what did I say?
I've got it written down.
You got it written down, bro? I'm going to put it up real quick.
So you said, I remember years ago as a young academy player in a training session being pulled aside by the head coach, and he said, "Is rugby union a business or a hobby?" So,
Yeah.
what
So I kind of got to give the
it.
backstory behind it, because I was reading some of the responses and it was like, whoever that was a muppet.
Whoa. Were you tempted to reply or not?
Nah, I'm never gonna reply to that. But basically, I was obviously young. Myself and some of the other academy guys were training with the first team, and ultimately, we weren't training to the standard that was required of us. And you know, it was probably like one of our first training sessions, and he pulled us to the side and said, you know, is this a business or a hobby? And we all kind of looked at each other as like, we kind of knew the answer, but we didn't want to say it because if it was wrong, this type of coach would go crazy at us. But we was like, business. And he said, yeah, exactly. So these are the things that you guys need to do so that when you're in training, we can get all the work done that's required. And it really stuck with me because it was like, you know, although I understood like, you know, that we're here, we get paid, you know, we still didn't really understand that little extra part. Like, you know, this is serious business. You can't come and be messing around or not doing what's required of you because, you know, there's money on the line effectively. And so I just wanted to ask that question just to kind of see what everyone's response was, because I do have follow-up questions which will come later, but it's really trying to figure out, you know, how can we make rugby profitable? Because obviously as owners of, you know, teams, you know, I've always known them to make a loss, but I don't see why they should be making a loss because it's a great game. You know, people love it. And I'm just kind of intrigued to see what people's responses are. Because you know, especially with the kind of dip that it's taken right now, I think if there's ever going to be a time when we can like come together and do something or make changes basically, then this would be the time to do it.
And I guess you're in a pretty good position to have a thought on that, having now played in a different sport and seeing how that operates from a business side of things as well. Yeah. You can probably translate that over to rugby and see where this game could grow and what can be done in terms of the commercial side of the sport, I suppose. Yeah,
I mean, like, you know, I always used to get it even before I had gone over there, like, oh, this isn't the NFL. But to me, that's like an excuse. Like, no one's trying to say that it's the NFL. But, you know, you can learn from other industries or other businesses. That's how everybody grows. You know, you learn from somewhere and then you apply and take the pieces that, you know, apply to what you're doing to make you successful. So I think that, you know, there is some stuff we can take from them. Of course, there isn't everything because it's a whole different beast altogether. But, you know, if you look at cricket or even Formula One, you know, and where they are today compared to where they was before, you know, that's because they've taken pieces from other businesses to help them grow and make it as profitable as it is today. And I think that rugby needs to kind of jump on the bandwagon and start to look at how we can make it profitable, because it's only going to benefit everybody. It's not going to exclude people. If we all work together to figure out how we can make it profitable, then everybody wins. You know what I mean?
Well, I think if you look at cricket, as you mentioned, they introduced the 100 as a way of innovating the game. Formula One, you've also mentioned there, introducing Drive to Survive as a way of growing participation and interest in the sport. Maybe rugby needs to find their own version of Drive to Survive or the 100 to really propel the sport forwards.
I mean, you've seen Beno Urbano. He's started to direct documentaries, and he was taking, I think the recent one was based on the Harlequins. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Like, for him to start to carve out that his own lane there definitely opens up the game of rugby to allow more people to see it and to be more intrigued and like, you know, this is maybe something you can invest in and whatever, you know. So I really do love what he's doing there, which is amazing.
I think if we go back to your career on the pitch as well, you obviously rose through the ranks in the academy, got yourself in the mix at Wasps, and really flourished from such a young age. You were breaking records left, right and centre, scoring tries, picking up Player of the Year awards, and then you were rewarded with an England and a Lions cap as well. How was that at such a young age to deal with? It must have been amazing.
Yeah, so I kind of struggled this my whole career. Like, I'm a really humbled like individual, regardless of where I've been or what I've been able to achieve, mainly because of my parents and the upbringing that they have, you know, allowed us to have, myself and my younger brother. So, you know, maybe it's for my background or whatever, but, you know, being in rugby and stuff, you know, it's always like people have always almost tried to like, I feel like they've been worried that I'm going to become this big-headed, uncontrollable like individual, and, you know, almost trying to step in as like they're my parents or whatever. And it's kind of been annoying because it's like, I don't need you to do that. And, you know, if I've achieved something, you know, you can congratulate me and stuff like that. You don't need to, you know, kind of do it but not do it because you think it's going to blow my head up. And so like when you say that, it was just like, it's quite easy for me to handle, bro, because, you know, like I said, my mindset is just trying to be the best and trying to get the most out of myself, my career, as you know, as much as I can. So, you know, working over the years, my first year in the league or playing Premiership, I actually unfortunately got injured, but I was on course to be top try scorer of the league, and I just missed out by 1. So I missed 3 months and missed it by 1. And then I went on to do the South African tour. The year after that, I made it onto the England tour, and that was the Lions year. And I don't know if you guys seen it, but we played Leinster at Adams Park in like a quarter final, and that was probably the furthest we'd been as a Wasps team for years. And Warren Gatland was at the game, and I scored 2 tries, and you had like Rob Carney playing fullback and stuff. And after that game, I got my letter through the post from the Lions, which I didn't actually see for about 2 weeks.
So they actually do that? They send a letter rather than call you up? Or...
Yeah, so they sent...
That's crazy.
So like, I'm not sure how it usually works, but they had sent out a letter, like it's a big package, it would say like, congratulations, you've made the wider squad. And then there's all this other stuff that you need to sign because, you know, once they announce the squad, you need to be ready to go, like order your kit and your boots and your flights and all kinds of stuff, insurance or whatever. So I didn't actually see the packet. And it was like, my mum was like, oh, there's a letter. And I was just like, kind of just put it down. But then she's like, no, open it up. This was like 2 weeks later. She's been here for a while. I opened it. It was like, oh, what? Like, I was like, wow, because I was 22. So I was like, what? Like, mom, like, look at this, crazy. And I think that was the first year they was going to announce it, like, live on TV. Like, and so no one knew if they were going to go on it or not, apart from the guys who had the letter who knew to kind of like pay attention type thing. So, yeah, I think it was that game that basically got me involved in that stuff. But, yeah, I went on the England tour, at that time, I think Chris Ashton and a lot of the big dogs had been given a rest or something like that. So there was more of like, you know, the next in line who were going to kind of show what they can do. And so there was myself, like Johnny May, Marlon Yard. There was loads of guys that year who were coming through and stuff. And I played a good game the first one. And ultimately, I didn't make the tour initially. But because I was in the wider squad, you know, it was like, oh, obviously we'll go to the other guys from the wider squad. Now, it was still a surprise for me because I didn't know that would be the case. But literally 3 days or 4 days before, Brad Barrett had been called up from the England tour to go over there. And then I was like, oh, that's sick. Like, if I got called out, that would be lit. But they're never going to call me. Then the morning of the second game, or our second test match, Lanny comes to the door, he's like, and I'm like, me and Mike Brown are sharing, I'll go, so, oh, yeah, it's Lanny, bro. He's like,
Is that Stuart Lancaster?
Yeah, Stuart Lang. He's like, open it. I was like, why is it coming? Because he never goes to anyone's rooms. Like, Stuart's one of those dudes who just keeps himself to himself, and he'll only speak to you like, you know, in a dining table, but it's always kind of awkward kind of conversations anyway. So I opened it and he's like, can I come in? I was like, yeah. So he came in, and I was like, just me and Brown, and he goes, oh yeah, you've been selected for the Lions tour. You got to fly out like in a couple of hours. I was like, what? he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, they asked me like how you getting on and stuff. And I said, you know, you've been great, blah, blah. And yeah, they're going to fly you out. Johnny May's going to start instead of you now. And we're about to leave because we're literally leaving in like 2 hours. So the team left, I stayed, and then the car came to pick me up. And I said, what about all my stuff? He's like, don't worry about that. The kit man will take it. When you get there, they're going to have all your kit ready. So it's crazy, man. I literally boarded the plane with some bands because I had to stretch. It was about to be like a 27-hour flight, 3 different planes. So it was, yeah. And then he was like, oh, yeah, by the way, when you get there, you're starting the next game, which will be the day after. So I was like, what? Crazy.
It's a whirlwind.
Yeah. So it was, you know, those experiences will live with me forever. And, you know, just in terms of, like I said, just to answer the question again, you know, I'm a very humbled guy and I just take things in my stride. And I'm also a faith-based guy as well. So, you know, anything that comes, I feel is already preordained, you know, and, you know, I'm really just always preparing, just being ready for whatever comes so that I can maximize on those opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And if I'm not mistaken, you sort of went through 2 periods in your career. You had that, like you're saying, growing up at RGS and going through all the age groups, playing for England meant absolutely everything, and you were lucky enough to experience that. And then you had a few years after that where potentially were overlooked by England a little bit, and your mindset kind of then shifted that I'm not going to actually care about playing for England, set that as my sort of level of success. And then from that point, you found even more success in the club game. Yeah,
that's exactly right, man. Like, you know, we'll go back to the Lions stuff. That's when I was, you know, in my eyes at the height of, you know, my rugby career. Like, okay, this is the beginning of, you know, this is what I've been working from 16, 15 towards, you know, playing at the highest level, you know, starting for England. And, you know, came back and the autumn internationals were coming up. So then obviously the other guys were back, like your Ashtons and whatever. And they decided to go with Ashton for the first game against Australia, which in turn we lost. And then, you know, the press was obviously slamming Lanny again as usual. And then I feel like they was like, oh, Christian, we're going to put you in. Of course, I pulled my hamstring. So I missed the game. I was out. I think I did it on the Thursday and the game was on the Saturday. Absolute nightmare, man. And literally after that, I never really had like an opportunity to play for England again, regardless of how well I was playing. So yeah, it was just one of them things where I continued to try and do my best. Like I said, had my hamstring. Then I actually did my foot later on that year. Kind of missed the whole season, so I missed that tour. And then came back the following year, was doing my thing. And at the end of that year was kind of the beginning of the World Cup stuff. And so I had, you remember the Barbarians game when we killed them? Like,
you scored a few, didn't you?
Yeah, I scored a hat trick, or maybe 4. But yeah, I absolutely blew that game away. We all played really well. Danny, Kyle, Marlon. There was literally all of us had a smashing game. And, you know, we had a great week leading up to it as well. And that was kind of our trial for the 50-man World Cup squad. And after the game, as usual, no one's really saying anything to me. And, you know, at this point, I'm old, I'm 24. I'm used to all that stuff now. So I'm like, whatever. Go out, had a good time with the lads. It's the end of the season. And then about 2 weeks later, I think I said this in the press the other day, about 2 weeks later, I had a call from Stuart Lancaster, which I didn't pick up because at that point I'm like, why are you calling me? And I listened to the voicemail he left. He said, hey, mate, you know, good game the other day, like some good tries as usual. But but we're going to go with Rocco Daguni for the 50-man squad, you know, because we want to see how he goes. You've had your opportunity. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean? How can you go with somebody else in the squad because I've had my opportunity? Like, there's no substitution after that.
And also you took your opportunity. You scored tries. There's nothing more you could have done.
So I'm just like, well, you know, he probably should have worded that sentence a bit better. Like, you know, you did well and stuff, but we're going to go with Rocco for the World Cup squad, you know, keep working and, you know, hopefully in the next World Cup or whatever. But he tried to word it. And that's what's just annoying with these like mind games and stuff. And, you know, that's why I didn't pick up, because I knew it was going to be some BS, to be honest. So
it seems like really poor man management to just ignore you for a couple of weeks after having an amazing game, scoring a hat-trick or whatever it was, and then just to leave you a voicemail to let you know that they're giving someone else an opportunity. It just seems really poor man management.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like I said, like, you know, it's just a whole whirlwind of stuff the whole time. And, you know, I just can't, at that point, I was already over it, and hence why I didn't pick the phone up.
And obviously it was a home World Cup, the 2015 World Cup. It was probably something you'd set your sights on from quite a young age, from 16. So it must have been pretty devastating to have that taken away from you. Was that essentially a bit of the final straw for you in terms of your England career?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like from there, I was just like, well, if since a kid, all we want to do is play for England, that's all they kind of push down us, like, you know, playing for England. And then to make it, you know, kind of to affirm that as well, you come in and you realise, oh, well, I'm not going to get a boot deal unless I play for England. Or if I do get one, they're not going to pay me unless I'm playing games for England. I'm not going to get any other sponsorships unless I'm playing for England. I'm not going to get the more money if I'm not playing for England, because the clubs won't pay it. So it's just like, so everything is based around England. But then to play for England is based on one guy's decision whether you can play or not. Now, I'm not knocking any individual, but at the same time, it's like, what are you basing your selections on? Because if you've got somebody who's at the top of their game, killing everybody, you know, making fans on the edge of their seat the whole game, you know, all this is stuff that I'm reading, by the way. I'm not trying to big myself up. But like, it's just like, well, you know, and I don't even care about that stuff. All I care about is if you're the best player, you know, then that person is at least have an opportunity to, you know, show what they can do on that stage. If they're there and they can't reproduce that, then fair enough. But if it's just like, oh, you've got this kid doing all this stuff, but now he's not going to play for it. It doesn't make sense. But, you know, instead of knocking on the door all the time, I decided, like you were saying, like, you know what? Just to show people that doesn't, it's not even to show people really. I'm not even going to say that. I just got to that point where I'm not going to keep trying to like please this one man, because that's not why I'm playing this game in the first place. I'm playing because the same reason why I was playing basketball, doing soccer or football, the same way I do music. I just want to be great at what I do. I want to entertain. And that's where my mindset changed. And it kind of, you know, broke the chains off a little bit. And I was able to like excel even more. And the one other thing, I don't know if you guys have read about, one of the things that kind of used to bug me as well when I first came in the league was I used to see people who were killing it and playing for England like 18, 19, like this for the men's team while I was in school. And then when I came into the league, the same guys, you know, they weren't really the same. And I was like, what's happening? And I was like, are they old? And I was like, they're not even old. They're only 2-3 years older than me. And when I went through that whole process in 2015, it kind of clicked in my head and I was just like, oh, I get it now. Like if your whole career has all been about playing for England, and then that's kind of like being toyed with you or like pulled away, or it's not a thing anymore. What do you have to play for anymore? Like, what is your drive? I'm different because I'm like, that's not ever been really my drive or my only drive. But if that's been your only drive, then what else is there to play for? And I said, that's why these guys have kind of dropped off and don't really care anymore. Because it's just like, well, I'm going to get paid anyway. I'm going to get picked for my club team. And even if I didn't, it's all right, I still get paid. If they don't want me, I'll go somewhere else. You know what I mean? So then it's just like, that's, now you're not, the standard of like play is always going to be less than really what it can really be, because there isn't that level of competition when everybody's just trying to play for England. And so, yeah, man, once the chains that came off, I was able to just, really be myself some more, not worry about trying to please the media and how I'm speaking or what I'm saying. I didn't care. And I'm still in that notion today where it's just like, well, even more so now, having left the game and looking back at rugby, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that we kind of allow to happen or we do certain things because we're trying to stay within the mold so that we can play for England. And I think that's a big issue, man.
Yeah, well, obviously compared to the 99% of people in professional rugby, you were clearly on a different wavelength because your level of success wasn't playing for England. You obviously open to a lot of new challenges, and the most obvious one of which is going and moving to the NFL. Yeah. What was that first conversation like with Wasps or with your family or with your agent when you knocked on the door and said, you know what, I'm going to bounce over to America and try and make it work in the NFL? What was that like?
Obviously, my family were very aware of all the stuff I've been sharing anyway, my frustrations and, I wouldn't say depression, but, my downtime, my down moments and whatever. And so the NFL actually wanted me to go earlier, like 2015, 2016. And, they approached me and stuff and I was just like, oh yeah, that looks pretty cool, but, it wasn't the right time type of thing. I'm like, nah, I play rugby, this is what I do, these are my aspirations, et cetera, et cetera. And that was that. And then once I had, the World Cup stuff had gone by, I had, broken a few more records and, having a good time, I then got to the point where I was just like, well, there's not really anything more for me to do. I can't really push myself anymore because it's like there's nothing else here to do type of thing. And so I actually went to America after meeting my now wife. And there was a guy I was following on Instagram who was training, NFL guys, NBA guys, MLB guys, and doing a lot of footwork and speed stuff. And I was like, yo, man, I'm going to be in America. Like, where are you based? He was like, I'm in New Jersey. I was like, all right, sweet. I'm going to come down. Let's do a session. And obviously I'm playing rugby, so he's planned it all out as a rugby session. And, he doesn't know rugby, but he's been watching me as a fan and learning the way that we move. So he set it up pretty nice. And I've gone to this big facility. It's like a warehouse, all the different different sports. It's got basketball hoops, basketball court, batting cage, the pitching cages. And he said, I was like, yo, this is sick. I've never seen anything like it. And then we've just done a session for an hour and a half. And I was like, this is sick. He's filmed it. Then he sent me the videos. And I'm like, yo, this whole thing is just crazy. And the whole time I'm there, he's just like, bro, have you ever thought about the NFL? You should try the NFL. And loads of guys in rugby have said this too, one day you should do the NFL. And it's just it's more just loose chat because we all know that's how you're gonna get to the NFL. It's so hard to get there. And then he was saying it, I was like, yo, this is an American guy saying it. He's like, yo, yeah, you could really do it. I've trained these guys, you move better than some of them. And I was just literally the rest of the trip, I was just thinking about it. Obsessed with it. This is sick. And then I remember when the guys approached me back in, 2015, 2016, and I was just like, I wonder if the opportunity is kind of still there. And I'd obviously seen Christian Scotland Williamson and F.A. Obada and Alex Gray, jump on this international pathway program. And I've seen the success that they've had, and I was just like, yo, if I can get on the pathway program, that would be sick. So I called Christian, and one thing led to another, and then ultimately, that's when I got to Wasps. I was just like, yo, I'm trying to do this, and they didn't like it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just why are you gonna do that? It's dangerous, and no, we won't let you go. We can't let you go, and blah blah. But ultimately, if I want to go, I'm gonna go and stuff. So, we was doing a lot of to and fro and negotiations or whatever, and then ultimately, it took a bit longer than expected, and that's why I ended up leaving so abruptly in the beginning of the season rather than before the season started. So you know, that wasn't obviously nice for the fans. It wasn't nice for me either with the boys and stuff because they didn't know anything about it. And, but yeah, just, you know, I wasn't really happy with the way it kind of came out. But, you know, at the end of the day, the boys understood. They was like, you know, we wish you all the best. And like, everyone's been rooting for me and stuff. And, you know, they also understand the, you know, the stresses and the frustrations I've had throughout my whole career. So for them, they was just like, you know what, like, you know, we support everything that you're doing, you know, go smash it. Like if anyone can do it, it's going to be you. And, you know, that the rest is history now.
Well, I guess your issue ultimately wasn't really with Wasps. It was just the fact that your ultimate goal had been to play for England. And as soon as that's taken away from you for reasons outside of your control, what reason is there for you to stay in rugby, and how are you going to stay motivated to be in rugby? So you wanted a new challenge, which is why you decided to switch sports. You came to the NFL. If you just could tell us, the listeners, a little bit about that program that you were on, because as I understand it, was basically a few months intensive program, very difficult, learning the game, learning a completely new sport to you. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, like, what was the biggest difficulties in learning the game? Like, obviously, you've got the new rules to learn. You've got the massive playbook to learn. You've got to learn how to run with pads on. What was the most difficult thing?
The most difficult was the helmet, actually, because the pads were, I mean, apart from putting them on, which I had to help putting them on quite a few times. Yeah, apart from that, it's just, you know, it's just padding really, just like, you know, wearing body armor type thing. But the helmet, because of that being so different and changing the weight of your head, which controls quite a lot of the stuff you do, that was a bit odd. But after 2 sessions, it was all right. But yeah, ultimately, the player pathway program is a 16-week program, or then it was 16 weeks, where we went down to IMG, we'd stay on campus, we'd have, you know, all our nutrition taken care of, our training taken care of, both in the gym and on the field. And we'd also have like classroom sessions as well. So we could learn, you know, the positions, like learn about defense, offense, special teams, learn how to do analysis. So we'd watch video on, you know, specific players, and it was an amazing experience, man. Just to kind of, it's almost like a crash course of what we were gonna come up against when we got to the league. So it was really scheduled the same. So we do Monday, Tuesday. We had training full days, like from the morning all the way to the evening, and then we would have Wednesday off, which was, you know, in the NFL, there's no days off, literally. Wednesday's off, but what it really is like swimming, lifting. You just don't train on the field, and you still have meetings and stuff. And then Thursday, Friday, train. Saturdays, we would still do something light, and then Sundays would be like the only day off, but you still do something. But yeah, we did that for 16 weeks. At the end of that, we have like a combine. So just like what you see the NFL draft guys do, we have like the 40-yard dash, you know, the agility drills. Then we'll have like the vertical jump, the bench press. What else? Oh yeah, broad jump, standing broad jump. And then you'll switch over to like the field exercises where we'd run like some routes. Then for me as a running back, I have specific running back drills I would do. And then because of my kick return stuff in rugby as a winger fullback, I did some kickoffs. So I caught a couple of punts and a couple of kickoffs just to show that I could do that as well. So it was a very, very cool experience, man. IMG is like sport heaven for high school. I say it's actually a high school now. So it was originally a tennis academy. I think it's where Serena and Venus used to go when they was younger. And now it's like the home of like all the best athletes, you know, Maria Sharapova, all those, you know, Osaka, she'll be there training. So we get to see them as well. But ultimately, yeah, it's sport heaven. They've got like 16 soccer fields, 5 football pitches. They've got lacrosse fields. They've got a running track, swimming. Even got like a golf course, a hotel, a Gatorade Sports Science lab connected to like their state-of-the-art gym. They've got hot and cold tubs. They've got hyperbaric chambers. Like, it's crazy. Imagine being like from 12 to 18 and that's your school. You've got all of that at your discretion, bro.
From having seen it as well, something that struck me is obviously sport's so competitive in the UK, but in the US, they're so obsessed with like the tangibles, aren't they? So it's not even competition about touchdown or points scored. It's literally competition about who's got the biggest hands. It's absolutely mad.
Literally, man, like it was like, I forgot to say that in the combine. There was like measuring the span of my hand and what's that? Just ask me if I can catch.
And obviously it ultimately went well because you got picked up by the Bills.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing finding out about that. And how was it like, getting involved with the Bills?
Yeah, it was incredible, man. Like the way they had set it up was almost like a draft for us. So we had, I think it was nine guys on the program that year. And obviously only 4 could go through. And so once we got told, like, you know, you're going to go through as one of the guys in the pathway this year, that's obviously an amazing feat in itself. But then what they said was, in a couple of weeks, like, you're going to go home in a couple of weeks, you're going to get a call from whoever is drafting you. And, you know, we knew the day that the call was coming, so they called me into the NFL headquarters in London. And they sat me down, see they had the cameras and stuff. And we got the call, picked up, and he was just like, hello? I'm saying it in like a Cockney accent. My accents are bad, so I don't want to do it.
Surely if the last 3 years you spent there, you might have learned the American accent.
Yeah, but it's just corny. Like, the way I sound is corny.
Go on, give it a go.
But he was, it's Brandon Bean. So he called, I'm not going to do it. He's called me and he said, how you doing, mate? You know, this is Brandon Bean of the Buffalo Bills. You know, we want to congratulate you on, you know, being a part of the team. Can't wait to have you here. You know, looking forward to seeing you. You know, we saw your tape and, you know, we've seen what you've done in rugby and stuff. So, you know, can't wait to have you. And literally, I think it was 4 days later, I was on the plane, landing in Buffalo. And crazy thing is, like, I'm going into Buffalo just being kind of announced as coming. And I didn't even know how they knew, but there was fans at the airport waiting to get my autograph and stuff. I was like, do you know who I am? Like, you know, so it just shocked me from the first day I was there. You know, Buffalo is an amazing place. You know, they have Bills Mafia, which is the fan base. Mm-hmm. They're just incredible, man. Like, just behind you, everything you do, you know, supporting everything you do. And, you know, probably the best fans in America. Not that I've been everywhere, but from the games that we've played and where we've traveled to, you know, Bills Mafia is just untouchable, man. It's like they eat, sleep, and breathe the Bills, and it's like a way of life. Like, if you're from Buffalo or even Toronto as well, like, that's who you support. There's no bones about it. That's what Dai Young used to say. Make no bones about it, mate. Yeah.
From the outside, it looked like it was a real seamless transition into American football. I mean, if you haven't seen it, like, the first touch of a competitive football, you scored the most ridiculous touchdown, like 60-yard touchdown. So it seemed from the outside that you really took to it like a duck to water. Was it as seamless as it looked? Were there ever moments where you had doubts?
Oh yeah, I have doubts every day, man. It's football is no joke. So from the day I landed there, you know, we're really like full on. You know, learning the playbook, and, you know, for me, it was really trying to learn it, just learning the drills. So I was standing at the back of the queue, watch everyone going and try to copy the man in front. Then obviously when we get to training camp, that's when the real work starts. And we're going from like 7 a.m. all the way to like 9 p.m, literally, like, it's non-stop. Apart from when we have lunch and dinner. But it's crazy, man. Weights in the morning, team meeting, outside on the field for 2 hours, have lunch, then we're in meetings, reviewing what we did for practice in the morning, and then that'll be like offense, then, you know, what do they call it now? Running backs, position groups, then we'd go into offense again, and then we'll go special teams, then we'll have a little break, come back in, offense, and instead of reviewing now, we're looking at, okay, what are we going to do the next day? So we're basically installing another like 60 plays, and then we'll go into the running back groups, look at in more detail so we understand what we're doing, then special teams, then we'll go outside, do walkthroughs, and then the walkthroughs will basically help us to understand and walk through the plays that we need to know for tomorrow. Then Then once we finished that, we'd have dinner and it's bed. Then in the morning now, like I said, lift, so that's weights. Have our team meeting, and then we're straight on the field, ready to execute what we learned the day before. And that goes on for 2 weeks. So it's like hardcore, man. Compared to what we're used to in rugby, rock up 9 o'clock, have a little team meeting, talk about what we're going to do in training, go and lift, do some units, have lunch, go outside, train for an hour and a half, and then the day done. Like, this is, it's black and white. Like, it's completely different, way more demanding, like more mentally than physically. But obviously, as the days go on, the physical side starts to, build up. But when they get to like 9 o'clock, back to the room, it's just like, bed. Literally hit the bed, you're just out, back up again. It's really demanding, man. So, the whole experience for me was just crazy, but it's really, helped me grow as a man, helped me grow as an athlete, and just really open me up to like so much more as well in the world of like elite sport, which is, I'm going to be so much better in terms of how I approach sports now. Not that I wasn't good before, but I'm taking it to a whole new level again, which is, it's incredible. But I'm just it's just so blessed, man.
And it sounds in NFL as well that like the main currency was film from playing in matches, which is obviously so different to rugby, because in rugby you can go on loan to a local team, you can play for the reserves, whatever. But in NFL you've literally got to wait for your one opportunity and try and get as much film out of that one opportunity as you can. So it must be incredibly pressured.
That's the crazy part about it. It's like, there aren't academies, there aren't, loan teams. So it's like, I always tell people that, you got to understand that getting into the NFL is like the goal. Once you're there, it's just like, all right, now you're really just staying ready for whatever happens. And and you have to find ways to stay ready. They're not giving you ways to stay ready, All they care about is, right, we're running this play, you're in. All right, you're out. Because if, you do the huddle and they call the play, whatever, and say, ready, break. If you're running to the wrong place, all right, you're out. Next person in. So it's that cutthroat. So you're literally like...
Stay ready, so you don't have to get ready.
Stay ready. So whatever you have to do... if you have to eat 10 bananas every morning, if you have to go for a swim, if you have to, go to bed at 5 p.m. or whatever, like whatever you need to do, when your number's called, you need to be ready to go. So, I kind of didn't answer your question. It's coming back to me now. You have to stay ready, man. It's a completely different ball game. And in terms of like, was it seamless? I had to go through all of that stuff and still, every day still having doubts, because you got to imagine like, my mind's ticking over. I'm tired. My body hurts. Am I even doing the drills right? Because you don't get a lot of feedback all the time. Because like I said, once you're there, it's just like, the reason you're there is because you know everything. We're not here to coach you. We're not here to tell you how to do stuff. All we're here to say is, this is the play, run it. If you are like a starter, they might say, all right, we want you to run it a bit like this. You say, okay, cool, I've got a coach. You know what I mean? Just the way you're doing it rather than coaching you about it. You need to be ready at all times. So for me, it's real hard to come in to not really be coached and have to learn from the players around me and asking questions. And so every day I was just like, am I doing the right thing? Was it the right choice to leave rugby? Like, is it even worth it? All of that stuff. But, you got to understand that, it's always the process, which is the part that helps you get to the goal. And a lot of people always focus on the goal and forget about the process. And I guess in that moment, that's what I was doing, like, oh, am I doing the right thing? But then when we played that game now, and I scored that touchdown, I was just like, yeah, this moment right here is making all the stress and everything worth it. Just even if I didn't play another game after that, it was just like, just because of that, leaving rugby, going through all of that in training camp, the doubts, the long nights, being up late, having my wife trying to help me learn the plays. Oh, babe, what's this? Like, call this out for me and all that other stuff. It just kind of made everything worth it in that one moment. And then you see in the reaction from the sideline too, like, it really was a big moment for me. And, we're obviously going to cherish that forever now.
They can never take that away from you scoring a touchdown. And what I really liked you saying there is about enjoying the moment and enjoying the journey to get to your end goal, because as you say, too many people focus on that end goal. But actually, if you think about the journey you go on to get there, you're having so many experiences, you're meeting so many people, you're learning so many lessons. So actually that's just as important as the end destination, really.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that, we do that quite a lot. People talk about trying to live in the moment. And I think that's what they're really talking about. We always set goals and stuff, but goals are almost designed to help you, have a direction which to travel in, and to kind of be the thermostat of, which, are you on track or you're not on track? And that's kind of how I view it now. I've got a goal to, play in the NFL. So now what do I need to do to get there? But if I didn't, or if all I focus on was that, when I get there, I'm going to have a new goal. But then it's like, oh, but what about all the stuff that you did to get there? That's where the enjoyment comes. Because once you get there, you're going to enjoy being in the NFL, but it's like, what about the stuff that came before it? So, I love the process. I think where I kind of learned that was through my injuries, to be honest. It sounds bad, but when I get injured, I get excited. I get excited. I'm obviously upset, but I'm excited about the journey that's about to take place and that process of like rebuilding, fixing all the little nuts and bolts that may have needed attention. And ultimately, because of the team I have around me with my training, when you're born, you're just using your arm and you're using your leg, so you never really focused on it. But when you get injured, you're almost like at that stage right at the beginning where you was born again. But if you knew how to train right from the beginning, now you can make that muscle or that whatever it is like so strong, and that's why I enjoy it. Like my shoulder right now, I feel like I could punch through walls, bro. It's crazy.
It sounds like part of the process that you love is kind of being the underdog in a way. Like in your rugby career, like people when you're younger would say you're too small, and you ended up scoring over 80 tries in the Prem, and then obviously you go to American football, everyone's thinking, oh, it's an English guy playing rugby, he's an underdog, he's not going to make it, and then you end up scoring a touchdown on your first touch of the ball. It must be part of the process that you actually love. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I've had a chip on my shoulder for that too, and that's obviously definitely helped with all the stuff like being the underdog, not being from rugby, not having played or taking it serious until later, being smaller than everyone. The way I play is quite unorthodox. It might be hard to copy what I do because it's not the normal way. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do definitely enjoy the underdog. It's crazy that you kind of picked up on that. I kind of forgot. I forgot that that's been my drive, being the underdog, and knowing that I have to work harder, and always wanted to work harder. And even if I am like the best or I get to the top, or it doesn't matter where I am really in development or what sport I'm playing, it's just like I'm always wanting more. Like I just when I look back at 60, I want to be able to be like, yeah, I gave it everything, man. Like I gave it everything.
Well, at 60, you'd have been gutted. I think if you look back and had stayed in rugby, you'd have been absolutely gutted that you didn't. Make the jump across.
For sure. And I actually remember when I kind of turned it down the first time, the NFL stuff. That kind of was playing in my mind a little bit as well. Like if I had went at that point, what could have happened and stuff. So I knew when I kind of started feeling or when I saw that there was an opportunity the second time around, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to go do it, like regardless, just because it was like, yeah.
I guess you only regret the opportunities you don't take. So by taking it, you're not going to regret it. You gave it your everything, and it's worked out. You've had some amazing experiences from it, and whatever's next for you, I'm sure you're going to have some amazing experiences as well. I think we slightly overrun here.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, I'm joking. Yeah.
One last one, which is basically a question that we ask everyone who comes onto the podcast, because essentially this podcast attempts to reveal secrets to success and the lessons learned from athletes' lives inside and outside of sport. So we're asking each of our guests to give the game away. by revealing their single greatest learning, reflection, or piece of advice from their journeys inside and outside of sport. How would you give the game away, Christian?
Give it the game. I feel like I gave the game away a couple of times in this. Look, I guess the biggest thing I like been speaking about really, and because I mentor a few of the younger guys, and I've always had a passion for like the next generation coming through, just because they're the future, and I knew how it was for me coming through as well. With the older guys, like how I saw them and the responses I had from them, and the lack of from some people, and the ones that did help, it was massive for me, and it's like helped me through my career. So the biggest thing that I would say is kind of really establishing like why you do what you do, whether it's sport or podcasts or photography, video, whatever it is you're doing, you want to establish like why you're doing it and list those things. And then every day now you're looking to fulfill, your dreams or whatever, and try to tick, the boxes of why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Because that's really going to be your driving force, regardless of any of the variable things you can't control. As long as you know why you're doing it, then I believe you're always going to be successful. And just remember that success is not determined by what other people say it is. You determine what success is for yourself, because, you're the measure of that. And I think that, that's probably the most important thing, bro. Like, you define success for yourself and establish why you're doing what you want to do. And, you just can't go wrong. I
love that. And yeah, it's really powerful. And it's something you've definitely demonstrated throughout your whole career, and everything you've put your mind to, you've really set those parameters for yourself. And I'm sure you will do in the next chapter of your life as well. I mean, thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing to chat to you. It's been amazing to chat to someone who's achieved so much in two different sports. And yeah, personally, I'd love you to go out there and try and beat Chris Ashton's record. I think that's what I want to see next. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yeah. No, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. This has been fun, real fun. And if you want me to come back on in like 2 or 3 months, we might have some more info. But we'll stay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Locked in,
let's get episode 2 out in a few months' time. Exciting times.
We'll get chatting to Laurie and sort that out.
Plenty more to chat about. Well, yeah, thanks again, Christian. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.